Rough texture, rough texture.
That's Steve. I'm Craig. This is your next video.
Okay, so we're starting with one small hard light source, your alien B, about 45 degrees above and behind camera angle. It's really important to have those shadows cast towards the camera.
The small light source, as we mentioned in the other video showing the samples, gives us this hard shadow and reveals texture. I think if you've ever seen a photograph of the sand dunes, their light is low and it is creating shadows, and that's why we see them.
Let me show them what that lower light looks like.
And watch those shadows grow, almost like the sun setting.
So ours is rather conveniently placed on the lowest stand we have, but definitely want to encourage everybody to, putting it on something low. Put your light firmly on a box, or lean it on if you're down on the floor, maybe you lay it on the floor too.
And your tabletop can be raised up a little bit, and it can help you from that lowering of your camera angle.
Okay, so we want to show them what the cookie looks like?
Sure.
Okay,
Great.
Let's throw the cookie in. That's what it actually looks like. You guys can see it and see what it's doing. Okay.
The idea is to simulate sun coming through the trees.
So our idea is to take a little bit of that intensity off the top left corner of the picture. We'll lock it in there. Okay.
It's a great way to bring down hot spots, but still let light pass through it to create that sunlight effect.
Yeah, I'm going to make a slight adjustment. You can really see how small changes make a big difference. This is one of the fun modifiers to play with. You can even make your own out of foam core. Just draw some random shapes on it and cut them out. Take your time. And I've seen a lot of people have some great success just making their own foam core, something you'll use for a long time. Now, as you can tell, the shadows are still pretty dark. We want to have some fun brightening those up.
Now you can use a couple of techniques. We've shown you using white fill, piece of foam core, but it's just
it's a little
kind of flat, doesn't
flat.
create any interest.
Yeah, no interest.
But we can take this mirror. Now this is just plastic mirror. Get it at a plastic store, oftentimes a craft store. You could also use mirror board, which you can get online at Amazon. Becomes a different color, silver and gold. Also, if this is too reflective, you could take some steel wool to the surface and soften it.
I like the steel wool idea.
And as before, we mentioned you could always use aluminum foil.
Yeah.
Watch what happens when I put this in. It captures the light and creates another lighting pattern.
I love
Also, see what happens on that hand drill.
I love
it. Really reveals that texture, the shape of it.
I suppose if you had a couple of mirrors, you could even use maybe 2 or 3 small ones.
Sure. For example, the coil in the shot's pretty dark.
Yep.
You could take a mirror and just light that coil, or just on the spike. So localizing your highlights can be very effective. Now, again, very, very broad effect, pretty strong. But by taking this wooden block,
and that's what we did for our picture,
and putting it in front of the mirror, it now prevents all the light from the mirror coming forward, and it creates its own shadow. Now, these blocks are kids' blocks. If you go to a place like Lakeshore, you can buy them. Cutting something like this yourself is a lot of work because the edges are rounded and sanded. This is hardwood, but kids' blocks work great. Steve and I both have had these in our studios for decades. Mm-hmm. And it's something you can share amongst your team.
So I think the last thing we did was we still felt like that we wanted to lower the contrast a little bit. So we put that white foam core over top. And it was our way of just really checking. Said, hey, do we like the contrast or not?
And in a sense, it's almost creating an ambient contrast. You just put it in just low enough that it starts capturing some of the light out of the camera. You can angle it for different effects, but it's almost like putting a roof on your assignment. And we're just using that same piece that we scored and made a support with. It's something that you can hold because camera is from where I'm standing. Camera was over to my left, and you can hold that yourself and take the shot and take it out.
And I strongly suggest that you shoot it both ways. You shoot it once with that higher level of contrast, without the top fill, and then it only takes a split second to have that additional fill light. You can decide later on which contrast you prefer.
And as we did here, started with a shot lit overall and began to build, bringing in some shadows, bringing in the mirror. And so we started with an evenly lit shot and built from that. We encourage you to do that, and you'll see it will grow organically. You'll just start to see that there might be a hot spot someplace that you'll need to shade. See, as my hand goes in front of the cucullorus, it starts to sculpt the light. Also, you don't have to use the cucullorus as is. You could block off some of the openings. Want your own cucullorus? Take a piece of foam core or poster board and just start cutting shapes that look like amoebas. And there you go.
I think the key to this is take your time, have some fun with it, and just build a picture that makes you feel good.
And it helps a lot if you come up with a subject. For example, this is kind of like a ranch shot, something you might find on a workbench. Having an idea, building out from a central prop, picking one prop, have the other support it, it helps rather than just trying to come up with a shot with a bunch of random elements. So think texture, rust, old. It'll really reveal itself when the light hits it. All right, anything else?
That's it.
I think we're good. All right, Craig,
Steve.
till next time.